me and my friends actually, like, I studied journalism in school.
That's dope.
And so I really wanted to
You
get
like
into,
to write?
Yeah, blogging and newspaper editing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we started our own like little sports/pop culture blog. And so we sell stickers, so like the Joe Burrow sticker on there too, and then the Locker Room Sports. That's the name of our blog. And,
Swear, put me on after this. I would love to follow you guys and keep up. That stuff's so cool. And I'm obviously being an artist and stuff. I love to write as well. So like if the artist thing doesn't work out for me, like my dream job would be to be like a writer for Complex or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be tight, right? Even Vice, I think Vice is done
Vice,
really well.
like just something like one of those like in that realm, Complex, Genius, Vice, like you said, like the ones that like are pop culture, but definitely do a lot of targeting and music and stuff like that. Like I know Complex, they do like a like a top 50 albums of the year or something like that. Like I'd love to make lists and shit like that. I would love to participate in lists like that.
Yeah, and it's tough too because you'll get some criticism, but you'll get some love, and it provides like a healthy conversation.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like your expression and it's fun. I don't know, like I just enjoy writing a lot. Like that's always been my favorite part of making music and stuff, or one of them, I should say. But
I was also part of the radio station, and at the radio station at Sac State, we had the schools one.
Yeah.
We had like a little blog, and we're kind of free to blog. They kind of give us free format. We were free to blog about whatever we like.
Okay.
And at the end of each year, I'd always put like my top 10 albums. And it was cool because,
that is tight.
Yeah, it wasn't like a whole lot of readers, but the people who did read it, they'd be like, hey, like.
Well, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool when people like take an in-depth listen and stuff. And, really like want to make a conversation out of it with you and stuff like that. That's cool, man.
Yeah, that's what writing's all about,
Mm-hmm.
So how was your experience at Dominican University?
It was cool at Dominican. The basketball aspect was up and down. It was a little political, but nonetheless, even then with that, it was a good experience because of, the relationships I built with my teammates and people, some of my, CJ and people like that, and my brother X, those are, two of my best friends, and there's more people too that I could meet. More people off the team. I could, it's a long list off that team in my 2 years I spent there. Because I went to a junior college like you did first. I went to Irvine Valley College. Played there for 3 years. I sat out one, played 2. And then I got recruited to go play at Dominican. And then, regardless of how the basketball experience went with, how things could get political and stuff, I definitely made, some of my closest friends up there, and more it extends further than CJ and X, like I said, even. And then as for everything else, I loved it. It was the small school experience, we didn't have Greek life, we didn't have anything too crazy like that, and I don't know, I'm not really much of a, I think if I went to a big school, I don't really know if I would have been a frat guy anyways, truthfully. But like I said, I'm like a pretty mellow person, and I like to pick and choose when I like to get out. I like to do a lot of things, partying and stuff along those lines, going out and stuff. But yeah, I like to pick and choose. Like I definitely like to be able to have my downtime when I need my downtime. And at Dominican, with its location, like I had mentioned to you earlier, and just with its small school experience, it definitely offered that to me a lot. And the relationships with my peers, like I feel like I just was able to make better bonds with my peers because you're in contact with them more. Like the people that were I was a business major, so the people that were in my major, I saw them like they were in CJ, for instance, we were the same major, same year. We literally would have our schedule, like we'd have 5 classes and like 4 of them we'd had together. Like it's stuff like that. So you see the same people every day and you get to really like grow like a real good bond with them. And I love that about the school. I loved especially being a student athlete. Yeah. The relationships you make with your teachers are crucial because you're gonna be on the road sometimes. We would travel to Hawaii every single awesome experience. I would 100% to anybody that could possibly compete in the Pac West. Yeah, I would 100% recommend it just because of that trip alone. You get a Hawaii trip every year being a basketball player.
Yeah, that's tight.
But yeah, so we'd be gone, for instance, for example, it's at least 6 days, at least 6 or 7 days away from school, and for the most part, it's during when school is in session. Right. And So you need your teachers to be understanding of that. You need them because in some schools you're just a number, and you your experience. They're not as lenient. They're not as understanding about the relationship between staff and athletes and stuff like that. Whereas a Dominican, it was a super understanding, great relationship between the two. And they'd give us alternate assignments or just kind of let it slide sometimes. Truthfully, so it was cool for that aspect as well. The social aspect, I loved. I honestly really love the Bay. The Bay is like, don't get me wrong, nothing's better than SoCal. Home is home, and
right.
I'll everybody who knows me, especially the people in the Bay, knows that I'll rep that, till my grave. That I love SoCal, and I'm from SoCal, but. I definitely feel like a place in my heart for with the Bay as a second home.
Mm-hmm. It's a different culture, completely.
It is. People, you're from Sacramento. I firmly believe it very well could be like the way there's a North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yeah.
It very well could be a North California, South California in terms of culture and stuff like that.
Even Central California can stand on its own too. They have a whole different thing as well.
Exactly. California is so huge and diverse, and that's what I think makes I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about how I just think California is really the place to be.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I truly believe it's just flat out better than all the other places. In terms of diversity, but you can get pretty much anything of what you want. You can get in California.
The mountains, beaches.
Place. Exactly.
Big cities, small cities.
Exactly. It's I love California, and I'll never complain about what we have going on out here for sure.
Yeah. Where else did you get to travel to playing basketball?
Playing basketball, we went to so my junior year we went to Utah, right in St. George. It's right in the corner, bottom left corner of Utah, I think. So it would be we flew into Vegas and then we drive a few hours there. We played Dixie State, and they're really fucking good. They beat the shit out of us. They won the conference that year, but their arena was dope. I loved playing there. Oh man, their arena was so sick. But it's cool for them to that game, just playing at their place was really cool because they don't have many, especially in that area, particularly in Utah. They don't have many. They don't have many D1 sports programs in that area, or even I can only think of one professional team from Utah being the Jazz.
The Jazz, yeah.
And so Dixie State was was their team
all in, yeah.
So they they had this big arena for it, and they really got bodies in there. They really got bodies in that arena. It was a cool experience for sure, and there's only a few other Cal Baptist was cool like that, where they had an arena, but that's in Riverside, so that's home. That's not too far for us.
Yeah.
But no, that was a really cool experience in Utah, and just because I truthfully I haven't traveled too much. I've only been out of the country one time to Mexico with my parents and family and some of our family friends when we were 8 years old. So truthfully, we just never had the financial means to take too many big trips like that. Our vacations were, hey, let's go see Uncle Hugo in Phoenix. You know what I mean? You know how that is. Let's go drive 7 hours for that. That's our vacations. But nonetheless, most of our other traveling was just from NorCal to SoCal.
Makes sense.
And then, I think our only other out-of-state teams were the Hawaii schools, like I said, which was awesome. Huge blessing. Loved that. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. How was it playing at the junior college level, IVC, and then, transferring after that? Because I know in high school, everyone kind of has that perception. It's university or bust, right? If you kind of go to junior college, there's that stigma around it.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation because I went to junior college too, but... And how was it playing at the junior college level? You know what?
I think I've grown up with... So my dad's actually the coach of the school that I played at. Irvine Valley College. My dad's Jerry Hernandez is his name. And he's been coaching there since I've literally, I think the year that I was born was when he first started. He's old head. He's been in the game for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my guy. But he... what was I going to say? He... So he's I've always understood the JC level that couldn't be further from the truth.
Right.
And so I never really felt embarrassed about it because I always understood. He's my pops just had a season where he transferred 71 guys out of one team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I understand, like, it's just everybody moves at a different pace. And me personally, I wasn't, like, just knowing who I was maturity-wise. I was a late bloomer. As a basketball player, on top of that, I wasn't ready as a basketball player to play university ball.
Mm-hmm.
But as a man, like, I wasn't ready to go away. Like, I was just immature. Like I said, I was a late bloomer.
Mm-hmm.
I just caught up to, I was still, like, I have a late birthday where my birthday's in August.
Okay.
And so I was like older than everybody in my grade. My parents chose to hold me back a year rather than, put me in with older people where I'd be like, you have the choice as a parent to be okay. Like, you want your son to be older than the people in his grade, you want him to be younger.
Right.
And my parents chose me to be the older one, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. For one thing, when I have my kids, I'd do the same thing if they have a late birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, I like, me being older than everybody else, I still felt behind everybody in terms of how I bloomed, even physically, and like hitting puberty later than everybody else, and like just like maturity wise and stuff like that. I feel like it took me some time to catch up, and that's why JUCO was a good route for me. And it's honestly, if you go to the right program, I couldn't recommend it more because if you don't get what you want right out the gates with the university level, if you believe that you have something better in store for yourself, you have a higher ceiling, there's a level that you can get to.
Yeah.
It's about what you make of it at the JUCO level. Irvine Valley in particular, this may come off as biased, but I think it's such an incredible program because I was offered not even just my pops on his staff, but his staff, the people that he has on his team with him, offered so many tools for me to grow. And at the end of the day, you know how it is. Like, it's on you to work.
Right.
It's on you to work and grind and bust your ass to make yourself better. But I would be ignorant to not acknowledge the fact that I had resources to get better and the proper guidance to get better at the things. Like, to be told that, hey, you need to get better at this, work at this and stuff like that. Because truthfully, even like at the university level, like I didn't get that kind of guidance.
Yeah.
Like at the university level, you were just kind of on your own to grind and get better. And don't get me wrong, it can work that way for sure. But when you have that and the right guidance, and you're paying less money for it.
Yeah, lower risk.
At the end of the day, like I think about the basketball player I was when I was 18 going into my gray shirt season at JUCO, and when I was 21 signing my letter of intent to play at Dominican. It's night and day. I mean, I grew so much as a basketball player, and I created more opportunity for myself, and with the help of other people, of course and the resources I had. But if without my JUCO experience, I wouldn't have that. And to say that it's university or bust, like you said, the phrase is just flat out wrong. It's dependent upon the person. Some people are ready for it.
Right.
I personally wasn't, and I think I'm a testament to the fact that it's definitely not a university or bust. It's just a person-to-person case, like I said.
How would you describe your basketball playing style when you were playing?
Well-rounded. I think I was a point guard for one thing, and I still, I actually was just playing basketball with my buddies yesterday and stuff. I still play a lot, and I'm still constantly surrounded by the game. I coached with my pops a little bit last year, and that was really fun. But it's I guess it's hard to tell like what your own play style is because you don't know what other people see. You know what you think you are, but you don't know what other people see.
Yeah, that's right.
But what I like to think is that I was the kind of guy that made my teammates better when I was on the floor. I don't know if I'd say I was a pass first point guard. I mean, I was a playmaker. If there was a play to be made where I needed to score the ball and I read that, then that's the play I made. But it could be, like I was the kind of guy that could be 0 points one night, 20 the next. It's just you got to read it, and that's kind of the way point guards are. I think that I was just really a point guard in the truest sense of the form. And when I say well-rounded, I wasn't great at any one particular thing. I was a good shooter. I was a good defender. I was a good rebounder. I was a really good rebounder for my position. I was a really good passer. You know, I had a high IQ, like that kind of stuff, but I wasn't, you know, overwhelmingly just, you know, a Steph Curry shooter. I wasn't a Tony Allen defender. You know what I mean? I was just good in all these areas. But like there was no part of my game that wasn't solid and polished.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't anything that I would just absolutely stand out above, except for maybe, you know, passing and rebounding, stuff like that. But no, just I think well-rounded would be the best way to describe it.
Did you have any players you looked up to when you were younger?
Absolutely. My favorite, I mean, and I don't know about play, if I ever embodied their play style, I was a huge Darren Williams fan. Williams and D. Will when he was on the Jazz. Oh, man, I loved D. Will. I loved Derrick Rose when he was on the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of that. I liked a lot of guys that played college hoops, too. I'm trying to think, because I used to follow college hoops almost more than the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't give you. I used to watch a lot of people though, and like I would, if I, you know, just like anything else, you take what you take what you see, and if you can apply it to your own game, you do your best to embody that. And you know, if you see something you don't like, you make sure to stay away from it, type thing. But there was definitely people I did look up to, but you know, there's none that are coming to mind at the moment, unfortunately, other than Darren Williams and Derrick Rose.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sounds like basketball was a big part of your life.
Huge.
When did the passion for music and wanting to create music come into your life?
So the passion for music has always been there, truthfully, too. I mean, basketball was always just like it was always such a, I don't know if easy is the right word, but like,
natural.
Natural is the right word, because it was the natural step for me to, you know, kind of rise up into. I experimented with other sports, and I think I stopped playing other sports when I was like in 6th or 7th grade. So I was into baseball for a while. I did football for a year because I have cool kids who did football. But I played soccer. I really liked soccer. If I wasn't playing basketball, I'd probably want to play soccer. Soccer is such a cool culture, man.
Mm-hmm.
Love the soccer culture. But no, basketball was just natural, like you said, and I grew up in the gym, man. I mean, I spent my summer, you know how it is. Both my parents worked and stuff, so you know, we didn't have money for a babysitter or anything like that. So in the summertime, when we didn't have school, we were going to the gym with my pops, and I remember being from 5 to 12, 13 years old, where I was just spending my summers in that gym, and I spent so much time in the IVC gym, to where I just grew to love the game, and I was really fortunate to where, as much as my pops would coach me and stuff, he didn't really spend too much time pushing me and my brother, because I think ultimately what's most important, I mean, at least for your kids at a young age, if you want them to be good at a sport, is for them to nourish their love for that game.
Right.
You can't push them too hard; they'll be burnt out by the time it really matters.
Yeah.
But I always, truthfully, I always had that same type of passion for music. I always loved it. It just wasn't, my grandpa was a mariachi man.
Oh, okay.
I never got to meet him, unfortunately. He passed away before I was born, at least while I was really little.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's dad was. He was a mariachi man. He used to play for the Dodgers and stuff.
Wow.
But and it's like, backgrounds in other movies and stuff like that. But it was really cool. I didn't even know it was really in my blood like that. But I always had both the passion. I just pursued more of the basketball one because it was natural, like we had said. But no, I always had something in rotation when I was a kid. Whether my mom got me this big old boom box when I was a kid. I used to sit by it and listen to the radio or whatever I was allowed to listen to at that time.
Right.
I was young, so she was monitoring my shit, making sure it wasn't nothing that she would want me listening to. But I'd be next to it. And I always, if I was playing basketball up front, I'd bring it, as long as I could extend the court, I'd bring it as far out as I could and play something while I was playing basketball. I'd sit in my room that I shared with my brother and, listen to something. So I always was just, there's something about music to where it reaches you and gets through to you, and in a way that can't really scientifically be measured. Like we don't know why music impacts us the way that it does,
Right.
but it does.
Mm-hmm.
There's no denying the fact that music impacts people, like in a very special way. But I was gonna say, I think I've always been a big fan on the creative side, or on the side as a listener. I've always been a huge, like, it's always been a big part of my life. On the creative side, I started like writing raps and stuff a little bit when I was in high school. And, I'd show people and it wasn't very good, but it was just like, it was just for fun. Like I have a video of me and my boy Austin. Oh God, that was bad, but it's just for fun. Like I was just goofing around. Like I'd write stuff just as expression because I like to write. You know? And back then I didn't know how much I loved to write until I looked, in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, damn, like I always did like to write. And I just put it in song format because music was always so crucial to me. But till I started taking like, probably like 2016, late 2016, I started messing around on my mom's computer on GarageBand, I was producing stuff and like I was writing a little bit and like I just really had a good time. It was a period of my life that was kind of hard and I was spending a lot of time by myself, but I was loving it because it was like I was creating and I was learning something new and I was like, dude, like this is awesome. Like this is something I really like. I want to do. Like I want to keep doing this. I want to see where this goes. And I thought it was cool shit ever back then. I mean, it was in hindsight, it was garbage, but I thought it was the coolest stuff ever. But I guess I didn't really take it like serious until I found my way to resources that really made me sound like a real like artist in the game. Right? If you were to play this somewhere, nobody'd be looking around and be like, "Why is this garbage on?" Like it would fit, like because it was that high of quality and it was a good song. And when I say proper resources, I mean I got studio time and like a trained room for for recording, and I had an engineer that gave me a proper mix and master, and I got a beat from a producer that wasn't me fucking around on GarageBand making some garbage, And once I saw all that come together, it was like I always had bigger visions for my music than I could ever than I could ever by myself put into product. And then once I saw the product like as a tangible product, like what was in my head came out to be a tangible product, and it was of the quality that I had it in my head. I was like, oh shoot, like I think I could really do something with this. Like I just really started believing. I was like, I think I could really make it in this industry once I saw it in that tangible form. And that was when I really started taking it seriously on the creative side of things, which was cool.
Was that first song you recorded released, or is this?
It was. It's called Palmdale Rain.
Okay.
It's called Palmdale Rain. It's been out. It came out in. It was the remastered version. So I put up a lot of versions that I recorded and like mixed myself and stuff. And then I ended up like taking them down later just because I found out they weren't good. Like I just put stuff up to get. It wasn't my best. I've learned a lot along the way. I put a lot of stuff up just to kind of like get my name out there because it was good enough at the time.
Right.
And I've realized that good enough is not good enough. Like you have to love your product, and I'm especially now where I'm at, where I'm just ultra competitive with myself right now. We can get into that more later, but like I feel like I'm in a state where I can't put anything out that isn't better than the last thing that I put out before.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I'm at with myself, and I think it's really good. But back then, when I was just putting stuff out that wasn't didn't have a proper mix and master, and it was doing it out of GarageBand, which people can do. Yeah. That have other resources and other skills, quite frankly, and I was not one of those people yet. So mine was not good. But just in hindsight, it wasn't the best way to go about things. I was just trying to get my name out. But yeah, with Palmdale Rain in particular, it was one of those songs that I took down went to the studio, re-recorded this, got a proper mix and master from my boy Millie, Old Man Jenkins. Shout out to my man Old Man Jenkins, Emil. That's my guy. My guys over on the west side of Anaheim. You know, Bob Med, 2K. I like those guys. But that was when I started getting in with them more and stuff like that. But yeah, that was when I really started taking it seriously and thinking, okay, I could do something with this.
Yeah. I think it's cool though to have like those older clips up on there because like I was a big Kendrick fan. I like Odd Future a lot. And definitely in the early goings, even J. Cole too, who I'm a big fan of. Sometimes you can still search up their YouTube videos, and if you dig deep far enough, you can find those old clips of them, like whether it's a freestyle in the car, something from like one of their early projects, and it's kind of cool to see the growth right now. Just not just the mix and mastering, but it's like the lyrics and the flow or the cadence.
Mac Miller's a perfect example of that too. I'm a huge Mac guy. I love Mac, but R.I.P. But he I agree. The way I think about it, I think there's a lot of people that are shameful upon those things, and it's never awesome to have that stuff aired out. I guess to say that people like if you were to listen to my music and the first thing you heard of my music was something like that, I wouldn't be super proud about it. But at the same time, it's like, what was that Travis Scott documentary that came out? It was like something the Look Mom I Can Fly.
Yeah, Butterfly.
It adds to your testimony, man. Like it adds to your testimony, it adds to your growth. I think about like look at where I've come from, and because I experienced this, when I get there, it's gonna taste that much sweeter. That's kind of the way I've been looking at it, and it's cool. It feels really cool, and it's like I feel like it's very inspirational, like you said, to look at how polished J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar,
right?
Like how incredible they are. Not just they're beyond my words in terms of their ability now, and to think they started at some place, in some way they were at my level at one point.
Yeah,
it's inspirational, to think that with my right amount of grind and decision making that maybe I'll never be a J. Cole or a Kendrick Lamar, but I could grow, and maybe I will.
Yeah,
It's a cool thought to have for sure.
And I've been starting to document more of my stuff, whether it's I don't put it out or not. Maybe I put it on my YouTube channel and don't share it with anybody. But just to do more of that because I think it's cool, like especially like with athletes. You have the old footages of LeBron in middle school or in high school, right? Or someone like Steph Curry, just like from a really young age, and it's kind of cool to see that because, like you said, at a kid, no one really knows like what they're gonna be when they're older, but it kind of gives us a perception like, hey, those guys that are at the top now, whatever there is, whether it's a sport, music, even someone like Gary Vee, who I like to listen to, there's videos of 10 years ago, like him giving speeches to much smaller crowds, right? So it's kind of cool to see like the growth of people like that because it's kind of like, one, it's like a bookmark in their history, but two, it also shows like the growth, and it's
absolutely. I agree. I couldn't agree more, man.
So after you recorded your first song, like when did it really just start to evolve into something that you wanted to do and make a career out of?
It was honestly from there. There's just like, I've always dreamed about what this life could be like, and I guess I don't know if it was lack of confidence or like I've kind of, there's always people that are gonna give you the more be realistic type answers and stuff, and I just kind of realized I didn't realize how much I listened to them, and I didn't realize how much I suppressed. I'm a dreamer. Like I'm a big visionary, big picture dreamer. Like that is like that couldn't be more true. I think big picture. I dream big all the time, and there's constantly people that are be more realistic, and and I think I had my dreamer energy kind of suppressed for a long time, and without even realizing it, it was subconscious. It wasn't something subconscious, unconscious, one of those words. Either one of them. It wasn't something I was conscious of, and I didn't realize how much I had suppressed that until I started thinking about. I started just dreaming bigger again, and then I started yeah, once I just started gaining confidence and seeing the support that I was receiving and stuff like that, even in the early on days, like I said, yeah. Go ahead and repeat the question for me. Like I just want to expand a little more about.
Yeah,
it,
just
make sure I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah, like when did it become like I want to make a career out of this and that's something I want to pursue?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. So and I dreamed about it, and I guess I had always been like I always thought like, oh, this would be cool, but there's there's a lot to be said about somebody who chases after their dreams like that, and someone who has the courage to do that. And I can speak firsthand by saying it takes a lot of courage to do this stuff, because you're gonna get a lot of people that are gonna tell you that you're dumb for doing this, and a lot of people that are gonna look down on you. A lot of people that didn't want to, that didn't have the courage to do it for themselves, and I think that kind of fueled the fire in me a little bit. And just the fact that I love to do this, man. I don't think about plan B at all. Like I hardly ever. I think about plan B to support my plan A. Yeah. I think about plan B like, okay, because right now I truthfully can't support myself with the money I make off my music. And I think about, okay, so I need a way to support myself with the music until it can only be plan A. But like I never think about like plan B as like an end goal. Yeah. Because it's not what I want to do. Like I love this. There's just a certain, when I'm creating, there's a certain feeling I can tap into, and it feels in alignment with what my soul wants me to do. You know what I mean? It's just it's deeper than what I could explain. It's just what I love to do. And as I started realizing that I could really do it, you gain confidence, and you gain and your confidence makes you want to work harder. It makes you want to invest in it more and stuff like that. And that's kind of just what got the ball rolling for me, was seeing that first song, really. And as I continued to do it, and I continued to feel my own growth, but also hear it from outside folks, was really cool. I go back and I listen to a lot of my old projects and a lot of my old songs, stuff that was honestly, it's not bad. It's some of it's still pretty good, but you don't. Sometimes you get so caught up in where you're at, and this is in any walk of life. This isn't just in music in general, but sometimes we get so caught up in where we're at and moving forward that we don't realize how far we've already come, and we don't realize the growth that we've made until we take a step back and look at something. So I listened to my most recent project in comparison to the first one I put out or something like that. And I'm just like, not to knock my first one, but this new one is just head and shoulders better. And I think, just instilling confidence like that, and how much fun I've had growing and learning and doing this, just, it only fuels my fire. It makes me want to do it more. Makes me want to work harder to make it happen. And just, it's like, I don't know what the word is. It's like, it's kind of fun and like challenging to like think that there's so much more to learn, so much more to understand, because I've done, like, I think this year 2020 in particular, for me, one goal for me in music was to work smart, was to work very smart, and to work smarter rather than harder. In a sense that I've put out a lot of content. I've put out a lot of music, and it's, there's a lot of it that I will stand by and say it's good music. Do I think that I went about it in a smart way? Most of it, probably not. So this year was about, rather than working hard to push content out, was about working hard to create the content, and then working hard and smart behind the scenes to make sure I get it out and make sure it's properly promoted. It's properly promoted to the right people. The behind the scenes work that I truthfully take on by myself, because I'm not supported by any label. I don't have a manager. I don't have this or that. So I take on a lot of that extra work, and before I wasn't taking on any of that smarter work that could help me out. Right. So, just like how much I've like learned and stuff with that type of stuff is exciting as well. To think that I, can learn so much more, just makes me want to do this more, and make me want to keep growing, and just seeing my support grow and stuff like that. It's all really confidence building, and just fueling. It's
Yeah.
nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, because when you're in it, it's kind of hard to look back and you know, unless you take that time, like you said, and take that step back, it's kind of hard to be like, how much have I improved?
Exactly, exactly, and you know, it's that's life in general. But it's, you know, I just speaking in terms of my music, that's definitely something that I try to do from time to time is to take a step back and listen to my stuff, and you know, just like, you know, sometimes I'll really listen to my stuff and have like a nice sense of pride and be like, wow, like I'm really proud of myself for creating this, because I remember when, you know, this was just a vision, and you know, I was piecing it together, and you know, here it is, intangible product.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, and real quick, just to add what you were saying earlier about being a dreamer and having these big dreams. I feel like, you know, I can relate to that, but also like the downside of that is you can also have bad dreams, right? You can also kind of be in your own head sometimes, like you said, subconsciously, and like play out scenarios that might not work, right? And just you can kind of beat yourself up on it, and sometimes you can be your own hardest critic is what I'm trying to say, right?
Absolutely.
So there's definitely, it's like a double-edged sword. You can dream all these big things, but then you can also dream, hey, what if that doesn't work? Or what if it goes this way? What if it goes south, you know?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I guess I'm just lucky that I think I've instilled a lot of confidence in myself, and at least, you know, don't get me wrong, I have my own demons and fears, and you know, thoughts that come my way that seem quite uncontrollable at times, truthfully. But nonetheless, with music, I'm always able to stay pretty confident and positive with it. I just really, you know, and I never mean to come off cocky in any way or anything like that, but I just really believe in my ability and really think I have faith in, I don't know if it's a higher power or whatever it may be, that if I put my head down and I work and focus on what I can't control, then the things out of my control will fall into place.
Yeah. You mentioned your album earlier, last one, When, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the first track, October 26th, is that a special date to you, and why was it significant to put it as a title of the track in the album?
Okay, so October 26th explained. Let me take one more sip of water real quick.
You're good.
Yeah, Tommy was really intrigued by that too. That seems to be one that people keep having questions about. People analyze a lot. So October 26th was one of the most beautiful days I ever experienced in my life, probably. It was October 26th, 2019, and there's really nothing too special about it in the day. It was just where I was at in my mind frame. Like I was leading up to that. So supporting this music thing hasn't necessarily been the easiest thing, truthfully. At one time last year, I was working 3 side jobs, you know, on top of the music, and they were all part time, but nonetheless, it's a lot of energy to give.
Yeah.
And that day, October 26th, was the first day I'd had off. I think it was a 17-day stretch, and I had worked 16 of them, and I was just exhausted. Yeah. I was exhausted, and it was my first day off, so I was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna go to the beach. I'm gonna go by myself, sit down here on the beach, and I'm just gonna be present, and I'm gonna relax and enjoy my day the way I want to enjoy my day. And it was the most peaceful, calming state. And you know, truthfully, with music and where life was at that time, I truthfully had to deal with some internal issues and stuff like that over that frame of time. So it was a harder time for me, and just that day in particular was just like a break from all of that. It was so nice. I didn't feel any of those demons, you know, or anything. I just felt it was the first time I was able to feel present and feel happy being present in a long time. You know, I had been so, you know, I can't wait to get out of this frame of mind. I can't wait to get out of this stage of my life. I can't. And it's so important to be, and I was just like one of my first steps in definitely my favorite step in being content
Yeah.
and being content with being present. You know, understanding that, hey, content doesn't mean that
You're
I
settling.
need to stay here. It doesn't
Right.
mean that I'm settling. It doesn't mean that I'm not busting my ass to get to where I want to be. But I'm still appreciative of exactly where I'm at in this journey, because at the end of the day, you know, whatever stage you're in, it's a necessary stage.
Yeah.
And it's a necessary step. You need to be there, and you need to be appreciative for that. And it was just such a peaceful, I was like so just in a state of like bliss almost, where just like none of these demons and things that have been harming me at that time, like none of them could touch me. And I just was, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even if they were in my mind, they didn't hurt. And even, you know, just being, and that was what I had written.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had written on that day in my journal is what I spoke into that track. And it was just very nice expression. And it was just a day that I really, like, in hindsight, I mean, it's on my wallpaper. I have this, this was just a, oh, dang it. Hold on. There you go. So my wallpaper, how do I make, okay, you know what? I won't show you. But it's a picture from that day on the beach.
Okay.
And it reminds me just of what that day felt like and how peaceful and pleasant and blissful it was.
Mm-hmm.
And just certain, you know, a reminder to be content. But content, and you know what, I explained what I meant by content.
Yeah.
Because content,
Living the moment.
content gets such a bad rap.
Yeah.
And I think I had a conversation with somebody one time where me and her, we were talking about how the difference between being content and complacent.
Right.
And content is good. You need, like, you know, being appreciative and okay with being present in your place in the journey, but not settling and staying there. You know, still doing your part of getting to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that day it was a beautiful day. I was 100% sober. I was 100% sober, and I was still feeling so good about these type of things and stuff. And
Damn, that sounds nice.
It was a really beautiful day, you know, because truthfully at that time I had a really hard time being by myself, sitting in my own thoughts.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something that I'm not used to. Like I said, you know, during that period in 2016 when I was discovering, like, my love for creating on the creative side of music, I spent a lot of time by myself and I loved it. So I'm so used to having that time by myself and being able to enjoy that time. And, you know, it was such a transition, and still has been, you know, not being able to enjoy that time and, you know, fearing that time almost a little bit.
Yeah.
So having that day to just be in that state of mind and be, you know, present and happy with the present was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was integral, and I don't know what integral means truthfully. It was an important part to include into the project, and a nice intro to encapsulate, you know, one of the emotions during the time that I had experienced of that album. That album, you know, it's cohesive, and, you know, there's a lot of different pieces to it, and I think that the best way to describe it is that it's just a collection of a lot of different emotions that I had felt during, you know, the span of writing that project.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With the cover art, it's, you know, you grabbing your head. I wanted to ask about that. Was that more of like to represent a stressful situation, a grateful situation, or how was that meant to be interpreted from your eyes?
I wouldn't say grateful. Probably more stressful. I think it was just supposed to grab attention and strike some type of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what this project is meant to do at the end of the day. To strike emotion in people, because this album in particular has been, you know, that picture even feels kind of vulnerable to me, because, you know, it's like, you know, what the fuck is this guy doing here? Like, you know, like, and it's a vulnerable thing to do because, you know, especially to express it on social media, for instance. Like, we don't express anything by, you know, at least it's in the social media way, you don't express anything but a highlight.
True,
you know,
right?
You know
the happy moments. Yeah.
The happy moments and things that things that you want people to see, you want people to perceive you as, even if it's not the truth.
Yeah.
As that's the way a lot of people operate. So it's a ballsy move to express something that exemplifies a little bit of pain and stress like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I thought that picture matched the album itself the best, and that's why I rolled with it. And I just I was really truthfully afraid about this project in spots to put it out, because there's some vulnerable spots, very vulnerable moments on this project, more vulnerable than I've ever been in any other song that I've promoted. At least there's some stuff that I like you had said, you stuff that you said you put up but not promoted.
Right.
And I have stuff like that on my SoundCloud with songs where I just needed to express, and I put it in a song format. I put it up there. I don't promote it. My people that follow me on SoundCloud and are keeping up with me on like that, excuse me, they they'll get the privilege of hearing that and stuff like that. But I'm not going to promote this. This is just for my own expression. And but other than those songs, I mean, these songs have clearly been my most vulnerable songs that it's scary to put out. And but I'm glad I did, and I'm really, really glad I did, because I'm realizing how important that is, and I'm embracing that. Like, the cover was kind of me, putting action to embracing that. I learned to, like, even when I showed a lot of people the album, a lot of people that I trust their opinions and stuff, people that have listened to my catalog and really know my sound and stuff, and I would ask them, I'd bounce it off them, what do you think? What do you think of this and that? And I realized, especially with the more vulnerable tracks, that those are the ones that reach people most. And I thought about, like, even if this is going to be vulnerable to me, it could be important to somebody else.
Yeah. So
I just decided to embrace that. And that's kind of what the cover and art, in hindsight, that's kind of what it contributed to, embracing the vulnerability, there was a lot, amongst a lot of other emotions, there was a lot of pain put into this project.
Right.
And, embracing that with the cover and, just, striking some type of emotion was a move that I felt was, right.
And there's always, you mentioned it earlier in the show about how there's no, like, there's been studies, but there's no, like, reason why, or there is a reason, but we just can't identify it. But, like, music affects us, right? And we are so drawn to music, and there's so many different, in history there's been music forever. And I think a big part of it, especially like recently, like for me, I'm a big lyricist, so like when I listen to hip hop or just any music in general, I love listening to the lyrics. And if I feel like the artist is being vulnerable, whether I can relate it to them or not, sometimes it's even like there's artists who are like from the worst parts of the country or even foreign parts of the world that I've never, but if they can be vulnerable and they can lay it all out there, and construct it in their lyrics, you can relate to them almost, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like the beauty of music and how people portray their art. Because don't get me wrong, I love the the more upbeat music, there's music that you could dance to, or like
absolutely.
Good vibes.
There's definitely a time and place for that.
Right. But there's definitely some like music where like when someone's just super like vulnerable, and I think like most recent project like J. Cole and KOD, there's a few songs on there where he kind of talks about the vulnerability and like his demons, and it's just kind of like, yo, that was deep. That hits differently,
It definitely does, and it definitely, at the end of the day, that type of music is the stuff that's gonna sit with you and impact your life more. There's gonna be certain, like, there's definitely certain like up tempo songs that really like have no purpose to me lyrically and stuff. Like they sit with me because they bring me back to a certain time of my life type thing. But the songs that like you'll remember lyrically, that like the songs that like I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like the songs, especially J. Cole's really big on that in my life. Like I love to break down every J. Cole lyric and take it and sit with it. Think about how it makes me feel, how I relate it to myself. And those are the songs that always sit with you. And like for instance, even when I work out, like I'm obviously being an athlete, I work out a lot and stuff. Like there's certain songs like on my workout playlist that may not be sonically the most like up tempo, but
Yeah.
because I know how this song makes me feel lyrically,
True.
and it can make me tap into a mind frame that like can really push me.
Yeah.
You know, and it can tap into a certain emotion and stuff like that. Tap me into certain emotions and certain places where they're kind of dark or something that like, you know, when you don't feel like pushing out that those last two reps or whatever,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you need some juice that'll really fuel like a deep rooted fire in you, like, and, you know, it's from songs like that that can lyrically just, you know, hit home for you.
You also had a song on the album, I believe it was titled Run 44.
Yeah.
Are you big Forrest Gump? Or are you big Forrest Gump and Frank Ocean fan?
Both, yeah, both. Yeah, I love Frank. Frank is one of my favorite artists. I have when I talk about like my favorite albums and stuff like that, I have a clear cut top four, and Channel Orange and Blonde are in both of them.
Okay.
And what was I gonna say? I love Frank. I love his persona. I love it. I love his personality, like as a public figure. How he just kind of vanishes and comes and goes as he pleases. He doesn't play too much in the media if he doesn't want to, and
right.
he pops his head in when he wants to. You know, I love that. I admire that so much. I can't wait to get to a point to where I can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just not feel obligated to be on, and you know, when you can just turn it off for a little bit.
Right.
I think that's so awesome, and you know how when he leaves, he comes back and he's just as relevant as when he left.
Yeah, yeah.
And how he resonates with his people. You mean talk about vulnerability? Wow, that guy is so honest and open. And I love Frank's music. And Forrest Gump, I love that movie. That song is just one song. So the story behind that, I was in a studio session with my engineer. His name's Adam. Shout out to my man Adam. We were in a session and he was getting the song that follows, All For Me, loaded up on the computer. He was having some technical issues on getting it loaded up for whatever reason. I think it was something to do with the beats per measure or something like that. He's trying to get it lined up, so it's just, you know, it's easier to engineer and mix and master when it's lined up on the grid.
Yeah.
And he while I was waiting, there was a guitar in the studio. I was just playing it, and that was one of the only songs I know how to play.
Yeah.
Was Forrest Gump, and then, you know, I just happened to click, you know, to turn on. I turn on my voice memos and stuff like that a lot. I record like a lot of things just for possible little cameos like that to play pieces on projects. And I just happened to be playing that, and then it gave into the story of, you know, oh, like, you know, I asked the girl to prom with this song, and you know, so I forget the words, and it just turned into a nice little cameo. The way it did. And it just happened to, you know, transition very well into All For Me, because at the end, like, it's where the instrumental turns on for All For Me, and it's just like transitions perfectly into that next song. So I decided to include that one. But yeah, I love the movie Forrest Gump too. So yeah, both. Your answer to that is yes to both.
So going back to the whole album, how long did it take to put this album together? And did quarantine and COVID-19 hurt it, speed up the process, or what did it do for you?
You know, that's funny. The album itself, I haven't thought about that. You know, because it's to put it together. Okay, that's the first question. How long did it take to put it together? Define put it together. Do you mean like just like finish all the tracks and piece it together in order?
Yeah, or like, what did you kind of have that idea when you record in the studio? Do you have an idea like, hey, I want to put this on an album, or like how did that process start?
Yeah, so I had ideas of an album. I'm all like some songs I just like, you know, there's a song that I'm working on right now that I can tell for people that will not be a part of any project. This song is just a song that's meant to be a song. And I just kind of had a desire to put together another project, and there's always, I kind of like, you know, in a sense, like recruits, I guess, instrumentals around it and stuff like that, and like I piece it together and I see like, okay, could this fit with could this be cohesive with the project? And it started with, you know, finding beats and stuff like that, and as I wrote to them, I think the first song I wrote out of all of those, okay, so what 26, so different. 11:44, all for me. Hi baby. Hi baby, you know the vibes, crowd pleaser, fear a lot. Not this time. Okay, so the first song I wrote out of all of those was All For Me, I think. Or actually, no, it was Hi Baby. So Hi Baby, I actually used lyrics in Hi Baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah, I had a dream about you. Like that whole portion of the song. I had written that probably 3 years ago.
Mm.
I keep, like, a lot of times when I have thoughts, my notes section, it just looks like I look like a fucking madman. But my notes section, my notes section is full of stuff like that. Like, I literally wrote another song that could possibly be coming out. I don't know. I literally just pieced together a bunch of thoughts that I had written together in my notes in song format where they rhyme.
Yeah.
And finished the song in like 15 minutes type thing when I wrote it, just because I had already written so much of it.
Yeah.
And that this is, another song in the future that is to come out. This isn't something on the album, but with Hi Baby, that's the way Hi Baby was too. Like, I already had written, and then the chorus to it, I had already written that for a while in advance as well. So I think that was the first one that was done, and that was probably last summer. I mean, summer of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Summer of 2019, that song was done. All For Me was written in summer of, and probably like late summer 2019. And then from there, so I mean, the writing part, I really took my time with this project in particular. I mean, if I really like sat down to knock it out, it could probably take me like 2 weeks to finish writing and recording.
Mm-hmm.
Max a month, but I just really took my time and spread out with it, and that honestly makes for a better product.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, the album was completely finished, like where I didn't touch any of it. I didn't touch any of it probably 2 months before I put it out.
Okay.
So
around February?
Probably, yeah, about around like late February, or probably even 3 months, honestly, yeah. Probably February would be right. It was completely finished. Like when I put out Settle In, which is a single. I was thinking about putting it on the project as a bonus track, but I just didn't think it fit.
Mm-hmm.
I put that out in December to kind of hold folks over because I hadn't put anything out since August of that time. And then when quarantine struck, so you're asking if quarantine actually, I think, sped up the process for me a little bit. It made me go a different route.
Mm-hmm.
So the original plan for When was that Soap was gonna be the single, because I think I truthfully think Soap is the best song on the project. I love the song Soap. I think it's one of the best songs I've ever made, if not the. But I had plans for a very big video for it.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna put a lot of I was making a bigger budget for that one to be a really special video, and we were gonna put the song out with the video to grab attention, with that song as the single to grab attention for the album.
Yeah.
COVID hits. This video that I had in mind that I will shoot it eventually.
Yeah.
But this video, I'm thinking 30 to 50 bodies in it. And you're obviously not allowed to do that in
exactly.
quarantine. So I had to go a different route with it if I wanted to get it out on time. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'll push All For Me as the single.
Okay.
And so it made me push All For Me as the single, but it also, so it made me go a different route. But I think it honestly sped up the process because as much as things like music videos got pushed back a little bit, in the video for All For Me got pushed back a little bit. I wanted to put the video out with, and ideally I wanted to be able to get the video out before the album came out too, but it just didn't work out to where we could shoot it before then.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I wanted to, it gave me time to focus on it was a blessing in disguise in the sense that it gave me time to focus on other things I wouldn't have had time to focus on behind the scenes, in terms of promotion and, getting blogs and interviews booked and stuff like that. And you know, doing my own marketing and, you know, studying up about who to go through these things and stuff like that. Getting my music distributed early so I could get them submitted to certain playlists and a lot of things like that that, you know, in past times I wouldn't have thought about or taken the time to, or in past times where like I would have just put the project out and then like been like, okay, like what do I do with it from here?
Yeah.
I made sure I took the time to get that stuff handled before, and that was really really good. That turned out that turned out to be really good for me in that sense. Just, you know, come across in a more professional, organized manner, and you know that definitely benefited me from the COVID and the quarantine period. There was a third question. What was the third question?
No, it was like the second part of it was, did it either speed it up or kind of hurt it, slow it down?
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, it. I think overall probably kept it on the same pace. It didn't affect the pace too much. I told myself, I was like, okay, I'm probably gonna put this album out late April, early May. And it came out May 15th, so it didn't like.
Yeah.
And, you know, my estimate was not too far off, and this was before the COVID hit. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, no, I honestly say in hindsight it wouldn't have affected it too much. But if it was to pull either direction, probably sped up.
What are some other plans musically that you would like to accomplish in the year 2020?
In the year 2020, I have so I have a song right now that I am particularly super juiced about. Yeah, I don't want to talk it up too much, but I'm very, very, very excited about this song in particular. And it should be coming. I would guess it'll be out within a month or two.
Okay.
Within a month or two, it'll be out. I just want to make sure I have a proper approach to it. Like I said, the song itself is probably done let me see. It depends on. I think my engineer is one of the people that texted me. So I keep on. I'm being. I think this song is really special in this song. So, I guess the best way I could explain it. My album, I feel really confident that my album is the highest level of music that I've ever made in terms of like quality.
Yeah.
But it's not super main. You listen to it. It's not super like mainstream. This is gonna be on the radio type music. But it's still of the quality of those songs. I personally like to think. I think that this song in particular. So like those songs, those wouldn't catch the traction, the same traction that like a radio bop would. This song's more of that sound, more of that radio boppy.